There is a bill in the House of Representatives right now that intends to limit your ability to sue for damages for cancer should you acquire such things from the use of herbicides and pesticides and fungicides, all that stuff. Kind of like the legislation that says that you can't sue for getting a hokey pokey, if you know what I mean. Kind of like that, except at least in that case, there's some kind of big government fund you can apply to, but you can't sue the manufacturers. Well, this is another bill, de facto way to limit your ability to sue or get compensation for damages. And this has far-reaching effects to our environment and other things. So I'm going to show you about this bill. I'm going to show you the actual effects from some studies, some scientific studies that does show that this is carcinogenic, especially glyphosate. Uh, Guys, there's been like $10 billion in lawsuits that have been actually awards that have been collected against people who've sued Bayer, formerly Monsanto, for damages for the cancers they've got from glyphosate. And it's probably worse than they're telling you. I'm going to show you these things, and I'm going to show you some of the deception at play here, things they're not telling you. I'm going to show you things no other YouTubers talking about, and I'm going to show you what you can do about it personally, what you can do to stop this bill. I'm going to show you things that farmers can do other than using this junk, which would actually save them money in the long run. So, guys, it may be even in the short term. Guys, I've got some things here that nobody else is talking about. I'm going to present it to you in a way that nobody else is presented to you because you're only going to get this here on Green Greg's because I'm an engineer and I got the data like nobody else is going to show you. So buckle up. This is Greg Allison with Green Greg's. I'm about to give you the skinny, the inside that you're not going to see anywhere else. Even the doctors on YouTube don't talk about what I'm going to show you. Their knowledge is probably too limited. So buckle up. Here we go, guys. So the deal is this. There is this bill. It's HR 4754. And there's a section in it called 453. It's this section that intends to limit the liability to the manufacturers of all these nasty things so they can feel scot-free, pretty much do whatever they want to do. And it would thwart some of these other things I'm going to show you that's a far better solution than what we're talking about here. But anyway, so this section of Bill HR 4753, remember that, is section 453. And it's got a provision tucked into it. It's under the federal fiscal year 2026 Interior, Environment, and Related Agencies Appropriations Bill. Yeah, what a mouthful, right? And it effectively blocks the EPA from updating pesticide labels or taking regulatory action unless full and often lengthy risk assessments are completed. This act is a de facto liability shield. Yeah, for pesticide manufacturers, for herbicide manufacturers, since outdated labels, get this, outdated labels limit the ability of victims to sue under state law, or laws in most states. This is a scenario known as impossibility preemption. Guys, only lawyers figure out all this crap, right? You know, the laws are made by lawyers, which, you know, that should be a conflict of interest. No lawyers should be allowed in the House of Representatives or in the Senate, in my humble opinion. Lawyers making laws, that's like the fox watching the hen house. But see, here's the thing. Lawyers speak in language unlike us. They can say words that in regular English mean one thing, but lawyerese, it's a whole different thing. And if you don't know all the case law and how things apply, you know, it just goes, you don't realize what they're throwing at you. But just to give you a plain, simple, easy to understand example of how this applies, what I'm going to show you is a label on some corn. This is just a regular can. It says whole kernel corn. Yeah. And it says right here, no salt added. Oh, that's nice. That's sweet. Let me put on my spectacles so I can see these labels a little better. So, but then it has an ingredient list. You know, you think that they're going to tell you all the ingredients in the stuff, right? And according to this, ingredients is corn, and water, corn and water. Well, that sounds good. That sounds really good. What did it say over here? No salt added. Oh, this is funny. What? It says not a sodium-free food right here. Let me see if I can. You can see what I'm pointing at. Yeah. Hang on. I have a hard time getting this window back up. So I can see what I'm showing you. Here we go. Right here. Maybe it'll focus. Not a sodium-free food. Wait, what? Then why did they make a big case out of no salt added? Maybe it's not sodium chloride, but they got some sodiums in here, which apparently are not on the ingredient list. What's the ingredients say here? Oh, you can't read it. Sorry about that. But it says corn and water. Sounds great. But then you also find out when you read in here that there's some other things. There is there is sugar. Yeah. Total sugars. Total sugars, 6 grams. I kid you not. Well, it's just salt and water. maybe they kept fructose in the corn kernels. Oh, that shouldn't be how they count it. Isn't that weird? But we also know, what we also know is that there was a movement to get foods labeled GMO so that you would know when the corn, and almost all the corn you get these days is GMO, most of it, that when you were getting a GMO product, you would know it. But the food manufacturers fought that tooth and nail and they won. So you wouldn't know what you're getting when to the grocery store you go. So they don't want you to know what's in here. And it doesn't list. There's probably a bunch of residues in here that they don't mention at all. Like you got to realize that herbicides, they spray herbicides several times in the field. There's the herbicides they spray at the beginning, the preemptive herbicides when crops are just about to come up or just little bitty crops. And for corn, they would use like Resicor or Sure Start to control the weeds. And then they would come back post-emergence. Yeah, it's called emergence. It's pre-emergent and post-emergent. Pre-emergent would be Resicor and Sure Start. Post-emergent, when the corn starts growing fairly big, they come in and hit it with glyphosate. Oh, yeah, Roundup. That's what you may know it is. Or something called 2,4-D. Or there's also a halosulfuron. And there's nicosulfuron, one of those nicotinoid type things, which is listed as a herbicide, but we know the nicotinoids also are used as pesticides, and they are devastating to the bee populations. And the bee populations are crucial to us actually being able to have food. I haven't seen a single bee out here this year. My first year here, they were buzzing around me everywhere. I haven't seen a single one this year. There's been a lot of colony collapses this year, higher than normal. Steve Popper covered that on the Popper Report. You should check his videos out. Anyway, and of course, there's insecticides like chlorophyphorus or beta, say, I can't even pronounce these names. You can't pronounce them, they can't be good, right? Beta slyfluorothorium, and then one called carbaryl or something like that. Yeah, that's weird, right? And then there's fungicides, Natico, Fluoroconor, Yeoyar, Bullock, and just Pennant and Bias and just tons of other stuff out there that they spray on your crops. And they don't get it all off. There's residuals in your food. That's been shown in tests. So, corn and water. Well, that's just part of the misinformation. But see, what we're talking about here is a special case, a case where they want to go in and just not update labels on stuff. They don't want to update labels on the pesticides. They don't want to update labels on the food. But in this case, the pesticides are the main thing here because they don't want people to understand what these can do to you and anyone else. And it's really the legal precedents called impossibility preemption. Wow. What a snake in the grass way to deal with things, right? What do you think? I think that is snake in the grass if there ever was such a way to look at stuff. So what I'm going to do here in a minute, I'm going to share some screens with you to show you some of these articles. I'm going to show you material data safety sheets. And again, we're going to talk about what you can do and what farmers can do. They got alternatives, and a lot of them don't know about them. A lot of them don't know what's coming out, what they can do. There was the old way. The old way was, you just hired a bunch of people to go out and chop the corn or chop the cotton, which is not cutting the seeds, they're actually cutting the weeds. I don't know. I always thought that was a funny terminology. Well, I'm going out and chop cotton. Well, they wasn't cutting the cotton down, it was cutting the weeds in it. People used to go out and hoe the fields. When I was a kid, that happened. People were out in the fields hoeing them and picking bugs off. So that's the old way. But of course, that's very expensive now, with labor being what it is. So that's not the way to do it anymore. So to kind of start this out, I'm going to show you what kind of alerted me to this, but it was very incomplete. And this is why you come to me as you get the whole news. Hang on, guys. Ding, 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 ding. This Dr. Berg here wrote this, put out this YouTube video. I like Dr. Eric Berg. He puts out a lot of good stuff. But this video is titled, "They're Poisoning Us Legally." And that's literally true. And he did mention Section 453. But he's just a PhD. He's just a medical doctor. He don't understand. There weren't anybody else, hardly lawyers and lawyerees and how the Senate and the House of Representatives works. I know something about that. I ran the policy committee of the National Space Society for 10 years and actually ran the halls of Congress promoting space legislation. That's a whole other story. But I kind of understand these things, so that's why I can bring you the skinny on this like nobody else is bringing it to you. That and my engineering background, which I'm going to share a little bit of that too. So anyway, what he didn't tell you was the bill number. The most important thing, the bill number, HR 4754. He missed that. So that's what I'm bringing to you, and that's next up. I researched this myself and found the bill, and I found this section 453 in here that he mentions, and it sounds kind of nondescript. And if you're a regular person reading this, is it going to have any alarm bells going off? And that's what they want. Although a lot of people have figured it out, and some people are already fighting it, and not just in the Dr. Berg video. He probably got wind of this from some. There are farm workers and farmers that don't really appreciate this. So, and some of them are fighting it, but there's also a lot that's fighting for what Bayer wants, or what Monsanto got bought up by Bayer. Anyway, so none of the funds. This is what it says. None of the funds, because you probably can't read this little writing. None of the funds made available by this or any other act may be used to issue or adopt any guidance or any policy, take any regulatory action, or approve any labeling or change to such labeling that is inconsistent with respect to with any respect different from the conclusion of a human health assessment reform pursuant to Federal Insecticide, Fungicide, and Rodenticide Act. So that's one of the limiting factors. You got to go to other places to go. And B, a carcinogenicity classification for the pesticide. And so what they call, so they're really referring there to probably material data safety sheets. It's tell you nothing, unfortunately, which is really a violation of what those sheets are supposed to do. I'll show you that in a little bit too. Now, the Senate has a bill that's close to this. They don't have a direct bill that covers Section 453 yet. Now, when the House and the Senate come together, they may reconcile between them and put this language in this bill, or it may be in a separate bill. But this is the Senate bill here. It's not numbered yet. Well, actually, it is now. It wasn't numbered originally. And the Senate bill for this is, skip up to the top. Ding, 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 ding. Whoop, I went too far. I shut down the page. That wasn't supposed to happen. Hang on, guys. I got to find that again. Pardon me. Yeah. Trying to scroll, and I actually brought the page down. These bills are lengthy. Senate Bill S2431, 2431. And so I get this straight from the government websites, guys. I don't make this stuff up. I don't make it up. This, I say that 453 section is way down in the bottom of an even longer House bill. Look at all this lingo and language in here. Buried at the bottom. So maybe you won't find it and written such that if you find it, you won't know what they're telling you. HR 4753. You can find these bills. Now, the good thing is this bill, as of yet, has no co-sponsors. You can see that right here. That's huge. But the committee chairman, Mike Simpson of Idaho, is the one putting this forward. So that's what you got to watch. Here we are. This is the committee that's behind this. And the chairman, Mike Simpson, is the author. So he's probably going to get it through. Just because they don't have the co-sponsors yet, don't mean it won't. But it also means that this is the time to attack it. The time to kill a bill is when it's in the subcommittee. That is the best place to kill a bill. Sometimes you can kill them when you get up to the committee, and sometimes you can kill them on the floor of the House. That's harder and harder to do. When it's in the subcommittee is the easiest place to kill it typically. Here are the members of the committee. Maybe some of these are your Congress critter. If so, write them, contact them. I'll show you how to do that in a little bit. But on the majority side, Mike Simpson, of course, Mark Amadei, however you say that, Guy Resch, I can't pronounce that, Reschenthaler, Michael Cloud, Ryan Zinke, however you say his name, Jake Ellery, Celeste Malloy is vice chair of that committee. On the minority Democrat side, Shelley Pennegree, Betty McCollum, Josh Hardner, and James E. Clyburn. Okay, I'm going to show y'all the scary stuff about this. That's just what you see there. Here is the material data safety sheet. Now, this is something I looked up because I deal with these as an engineer, a safety engineer. I have to be able to assess the risk of various things in electronics for spacecraft. And usually you'll look at little adhesives and glues and potting mixtures and even screws, coating for screws, and you'll find that these things have all kind of toxicities and carcinogenic effects, stuff you use in daily life that a lot of times you would take for granted and not think about. And there's special procedures for handling those. But this safety data sheet is really saying nothing of the sort, which really surprised me. This is the one for glyphosate, Roundup. Different companies publish these, but they all have the same conclusions. They're all written alike. You know, again, this is the fox guarding the hen house, apparently. Maybe if they wrote the truth, they would get sued. I don't know. But hey, there's farmers there. You can call them and fuss at them about it. They're going to defend what it is. What they say is a hazard class for glyphosate against which $10 billion in judgments have been filed. And which scientific papers I'm about to show you refute what this material data safety sheet says. It says the hazard classes are serious eye damage, eye irritation. Yeah. Or hazardous to the aquatic environment. Oh, it's a chronic hazard in the water. And all this stuff runs off and goes to the water. Oh, yeah. Chronic hazard in the water. Well, if it's bad for fish and frogs, don't you think it might be bad for you since we're mostly water on the inside? Funny. This is sad funny. It's scary funny. This is heinous, actually. That this is all you find in the material data safety sheet. Well, Greg, it must be safe. That's what the material data safety sheet says. How about the College of Public Health at George Mason University? International study reveals glyphosate weed killers cause multiple types of cancer. It did not beat around the bush and say may cause. No, it says it causes multiple types of cancer. A comprehensive carcinogenicity study on the world's most used herbicide, glyphosate, involving scientists from Europe and the US, has found that low doses of a controversial weed killer cause multiple types of cancer in rats. Of course, they're going to, oh, rats aren't people. Well, they're pretty darn close analog. You know, and apparently we're seeing it in people. They just don't put people, take, 30 years to do a study putting people in the lab and putting us in, but this is what we're seeing from farmers and people that have been exposed to it. So this is a study talking about this. And I'm going to show you some other sources here. This is the only source. And there were some scientific papers I'm not showing because they got, you know, they're very dry and takes a lot to go through them, but you'll find this in a lot of papers. Of course, all the industry stuff. So, oh, it's safe. You can eat it. You can drink it. Probably. I wouldn't do that. No, don't. Do not under any circumstance. Try to keep it off your skin and out of your eyes. How many times you got that little spray bottle? They show in commercials of killing a dandelion always. The dandelion is probably the best plant you can have in your garden. Yet they always want to kill a dandelion, which I think is heinous. Oh, Lord. Dandelions pump minerals from deep in the soil up to make them available to the plants above. Dandelions have all kind of medicinal benefits, and they're edible. All parts of the dandelion, except the fuzzy seed. You wouldn't want to eat those, but that aside. And you make coffee from the roots. They don't like caffeine in it, though. But anyway, glyphosate, the active ingredient of Roundup, has been linked to various types of cancer, including lymphoma, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. That's what it's mainly known for. Leukemia and various blood cancers. Now, this is an illegal site here. Roundup is one of the most commonly used weed killers. Researchers have found that exposure to herbicides may increase a person's risk of developing certain cancers, particularly after prolonged use. Lawsuits have been filed nationwide accusing the manufacturer, Bayer, formerly Monsanto, of failing to warn consumers about the potential harm associated with the products, including containing glyphosate. And there's more on that down below, but this is PMC research update here. This is a scientific, one of the science papers on it. Cancer incidence among glyphosate-exposed pesticide applications and agricultural health studies. So this goes on talking about this stuff. And there's other papers on this stuff. There's several papers on it. I'm skipping a lot of this stuff, but this is environmental health here. Of course, this was published just the 10th of June, 2025. Carcinogenic effects on long-term exposure from prenatal life to glyphosate and glyphosate-based herbicides. And of course, this again was rat studies. Here are your researchers involved in quite a large international team. There's more, I guess, more to see on these authors, but yeah, this is a science. This is a summary of a science paper right here. And this one includes the researchers here. You can see a lot of scientists have been involved in this. And I got friends. The science says it's safe. No, it doesn't. Beyond pesticides, EPA to allow discamba herbicide used in genetically engineered crops, prone to drift, and has weed resistance built up to it. But hey, the EPA is allowing this stuff. More of it. So glyphosate isn't the only issue at hand here, and that's not the only thing that Bill HR 4754, Section 453 protects. And again, farmers' very word is U.S. pesticide farms push to bar cancer diagnosis lawsuits. Yeah, a lot of folks are worried. They've been exposed to this stuff, and they're afraid that they're not going to get any competence for their issues. But at the same time, there are farmers' groups been organized at the grassroots levels, of course, probably being funded by Bayer. Control weeds, not farming. So this whole thing here, the Modern Ag Alliance, has been set up specifically to fight your lawsuits, to fight for the bill. So here is a group probably getting funded. Modern Ag Alliance advocates U.S. farmers access to crop protection tools they need. They don't need these to ensure we have a robust and affordable domestic food supply. Hey, I don't use any pesticides or herbicides in my garden, never have. And I have been able to grow a lot of really good stuff. And I've done videos early in this channel showing you how to do the same. But what else can you do? I created this website some time back. It's out of date. I've not had time to bring it up today. I've been moving and everything else, and I got to get some new volunteers and our Freedom Restoration Foundation because the guy had keeping the site up. I created it along with a friend. The guy passed away. The guy that was maintaining the site for me a couple of years ago. I've not had a chance to replace him, and I've been too busy to do it myself. But still, the actions in here are something you can take. So if you go to this website and go to the Action Center and scroll down past all these older alerts that we had posted in here, and at the bottom, make your voice count, the basics. This tells you how to do this. This is freedomrestorationfoundation.org. I'll put the link in the video. It tells you how to track bills like this bill, including congress.gov, which I just showed you the bill in, how to track bills at your state level, how to contact state legislators, they're listening for their websites, how to find out who your U.S. Congress representatives are, find out who your senator is. This is about sending email, about calling. It's kind of what to do, not to do, writing, in case you write a letter, what to write, how to write your letter or email, what to say on the telephone. And then here's a resource recap, giving you all this good contact data, including the Capitol Hill switchboard. Now, mind you, the committee number over here is listed right here. That may be straight to Mike Simpson's office. Probably is. Anywho, and so one thing you can do is just go here. And remember, we're talking about HR 4755, Section 453. I'll try to put that in the notes. All right. What else can you do? Grow your own food, for Pete's sake. Grow your own food so you know what you're getting. You can get heirloom seeds that are non-GMO. See here? From True Leaf Market. Use my link below. So that way I can get a little credit for it. It'll cost you a dime more and help me in my channel. Or use Eden Brothers, the same kind of deal. Links to that below also. What else can be done? What can the farmers do besides work out? Well, there's robots now that control pests. Here's a robot. Now, this one sprays junk too, but at least it does it directly on the plants that have trouble, not across an entire field. So that's a step in a better direction. Instead of broadcasting over an entire field, you go find the ones that have trouble and spray them directly. Not my favorite choice either, but better than what they're doing. Now, there's some neat robotics coming up. This robot here is kind of an inchworm type centipede looking thing, but they say it can control weed crops better than humans. This little guy just walks up with his camera, identifies the weeds, and has mandibles, kind of like a bug, and it just chews the weed up. Cuts it down. So, guys, your cameras have apps on them that you can identify plants with, just with a simple little app on your camera, on your phone, excuse me. So, they got this kind of software now for all your robots. They can tell what's a weed and what's not. So then go in and take care of them. I've seen robots. Look at this one. This one here is a pretty simple robot. It's got solar panels on the top. So you're not going to be using any fuel. Solar panels on the top. And 4 little wheels. And it's got a hoe. This thing is going through the field and hoeing kind of old-fashioned way. Well, there's some that's got little arms in there that can go down and cut and pick weeds and other things. So this is a cheaper version, I guess, but it works. It actually works for weed control. Now, if these are, if the farmers go for these and these are mass-produced, I'm sure a lot of vendors can produce this. This is a pretty darn simple robot. A lot of people can make robots like this. And it's a lot simpler than a Tesla robot, which will be probably Tesla Optimus coming on the market for about $20,000 soon. And even a Tesla Optimus could do this job and would be cheaper probably than spraying crops, as I'll talk about in a little bit. So, and China's got a laser bot to do the same job. It's got lasers. It just zaps the weeds, and there it shows it zapping a weed. Well, that's doable too. Many roads to make this happen. And here's a place where they got many little robots going across the field, kind of like the first one I showed you. In a bid to slash chemical use, robots take on farm fields. I don't know what you're saying. You're saying, Greg, that's impractical. That's nuts. What are you talking about? Well, the good thing is that robots are getting cheaper. The good thing is that there is a pathway here. because here's what you need to know. Farmers, the average row crop farm, big farms, even for the ones who rent land, they're usually renting land from, like in the southeast in Alabama. You might have a 40-acre farm, maybe an 80-acre farm here and there occasion, sometimes bigger ones. 40 acres is pretty typical. But the people that actually farm them, have their equipment and they rent little parcels all over the country, and they'll farm several hundred acres, maybe 1,000 or 1,400 acres. And some of these guys are very enterprising. And some of them actually don't have land. They just have equipment. They run around and farm other people's land that they rent. Yeah, I've seen some of these barns with all this equipment next to a house with no farm around it anywhere. I have seen that. That's not the rule, but I have seen it. So the fact of the matter is they use a lot of equipment, very expensive equipment to run around and spray this stuff in the first place, and a lot of fuel. But just the cost of the herbicides and pesticides alone on the farms they farm, which are usually 300 to 400 acres, can run anywhere from $15,500 to $56,000 and up per year, just in the cost of the herbicides and pesticides. Then you got to factor in the fuel. We're running these tractors to spray pre-emergent, post-emergent, and all this stuff, herbicides and pesticides, and back and forth and back and forth. Tractors are running across these fields a lot, which isn't good for the fields, isn't good for the soil, compacts the soil, which goes against plant growth. And these tractors are heavy. These robots are not so heavy, and they're you don't have to pay the labor. Some of them are solar powered. You're not buying all that fuel for the solar powered ones, and they can just go around and dispatch weeds as needed. Hobots. Or laser, Star Wars zapper bots. This can be done. It's simple. It's really simple in robotics technology, because like I said, we got apps on our phone which are sophisticated in terms of identification of what you got to get rid of. And there's already robots out there that are doing the job. The software exists. The robots are in existence. If the man is there, they will gear these things up. And this is the pathway, because a robot like that will cost probably less than 1 year's application of all this mess. It will actually not consume all the fuel. You won't pay the labor for hiring hands to go out and do all this stuff either. A lot of these farmers that are on this equipment, they're not the ones running the tractors. They hire somebody else to run them, because they'll be running several tractors at one time, doing different things sometimes. Robots can do all this. They got robots now that pick strawberries. They've got little fingers that can gently pick these strawberries without bruising them. And it's said to greatly reduce food waste. So what do you get? Your farm soil is not poisoned. Your streams aren't poisoned. You and your family and your workers aren't poisoned. And it's so much better for the environment for all these reasons. It's so much better for the community, for the people, for the farmers. So, I've seen where woods are around fields. Some of them, the trees weren't looking too great. And I was really wondering if this herbicides were affecting the forest. That's what some people have suggested from time to time, maybe because of some of the stress and dying off of some of the trees. I don't know. Aquatic life. Yeah. Fish that don't know whether they're boys, and frogs that don't know whether they're boys or girls, have extra sets of legs and God knows what else, extra eyeballs. And we've been seeing some of that. Plastics are another thing that contribute to that, and tires, but I covered that in a previous video. So that's the bottom line. This don't have to be. But if we let them off the hook, they're going to keep going this way. And they're not even going to think about alternatives. The alternatives are actually cheaper and better in the long run. It might take a little bit to transition, but sometimes you need a market force to prep that. And people that have been injured, to tell them that they've got no recourse is heinous. To protect Bayer, it's not even an American company, it's a German company. To protect Bayer over an American farmer, that's what we're talking about. So I am in favor of getting rid of this Section 453 and HR 4754. Will then be done in committee, subcommittee, full committee, or on the floor of the House. Or maybe the Senate won't go along with it. We need to look at this and tackle it and stop it to protect you, to protect your family, to protect farmers, to protect the environment and people. And so you won't be so much residue of all that nasty stuff in the food that you eat. But the best thing, again, is grow your own. Just grow your own food, for Pete's sake. Check the labels below. So there's several things that can be done here. I mentioned a couple things you can do and some of the farmers can do. But you can do me another favor. If you like this content, subscribe to my channel, bang the bell, and click all. And share this widely. Because my videos have not been doing too well lately on this platform. I got far below normal views recently. So help me out, guys. Let's get this out and about. I'm for farmers. I grew up on a farm. And I ran farms myself. I did a worm farm. I've sold vegetables. I've done a vegetable market garden. Things I grew in the ground. Also, I did microgreens. So I'm all, I grew up in a farming community. People that planted row crops that did just exactly. And when I was a kid, I literally, in fact, I went out and did some of that hoeing myself as a kid. Been there, done that. That's the way it used to be done, even up through the 70s. You would see a lot of that. 60s in particular and earlier, but even a little bit into the 70s, at least the mid 70s. After the mid 70s, that was over. But, that's the way it used to be. Again, we can't afford human labor, but the robots are cheap compared. And also compared to the cost, to the bottom line cost of the application of all these toxins, it's actually cheaper and doesn't have the impact on the environment. So overall, it's far cheaper because you don't have to deal with the consequences. This is the way to go. So again, subscribe to my channel, bang the bell, and click all. So I hope you enjoyed this video. And I'll list a link to another one up here. And I hope you'll watch that. So with that, I'm going to say thank you for watching. Greg out.